I will. The meeting of the Shreveport City Council is now being called to order. Fleury, Councilman Fleury will give the invocation, and Councilman Corbin will lead us in the pledge.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we come to you today with thankful hearts. We thank you, O Lord, for your mercy and for your grace that we just so don't deserve. But God, we thank you for your grace. We pray now that you'll forgive us of our sins. Bless our great city. I pray, O God, for our mayor and the administration and each one employees of the city of Shreveport, that you will bless them. Now go with us and guide us through this meeting. Give us wisdom and knowledge. For it is in Christ's name I do pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilman Bradford.
Present.
Councilman Everson.
Here.
Councilman Jenkins.
Present.
Councilman Corbin.
Present.
Councilman Fleury.
Present.
Councilwoman Lynch. And Councilman Bowman.
Here. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the administrative conference from Monday, March 26th?
So moved.
Second. Moved by the Vice Chair and seconded by Councilman Corbin. Please vote. Does any council motion carries 6-0? Any council member have any awards, recognitions they want to?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call up my friend, Ms. Kay West, at this time to speak with us. From United Way. Before she comes, I'd also like you to know that she has changed Southern Hills. She is the manager of Walmart Neighborhood Market, and she has presented a new method in shopping. She is just a great leader, and I am honored to call her my friend. Kay, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, James. Today I have with me the CEO of United Way, and he's going to start off, tell you a little bit more about us.
So good to be here today, and I want you to know how much we value Mayor Tyler. We value you as councilmen and women. United Way, we have been about focusing on a group of people that we call the hardworking folks that fall just under the ability to live without daily constraints. We produced a report several years ago that we presented to you, and we updated it last year, called the Alice Report. Asset limited, income constrained, employed. And so what United Way has done is we've changed what we do. We are no longer primarily a pass-through organization, but we're focused on that group of people and how can we give some cushion into their lives. One of the programs that we have rolled out and we have implemented is called 211, and it's a dialing code. We were the only area of the state that was not tied into this dialing code for the last 5 years. And we saw that this needed to happen. Over the last 5 years, there have been 100,000 calls from Northwest Louisiana to 211, and they got no answer because it was turned off. Well, anyway, long story short, beginning in November 15th, we turned the switch on. We had a formal announcement of it in February, and we've been real excited, and we wanted to come today just to tell you a little bit more about that. I've got two people here. You've already met Ms. West, but Dr. Jerome Cox, this has been his passion. He was the chair of our board last year, and he helped us bring it in and turn it on. So I would like for them to speak to you.
Thank you, Council. We appreciate you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. We thank all of you for allowing us to say a few words. What I'm excited about with 211 is very rare in our lifetime or in our moments of service that we get to do something that impacts every or the majority of our constituents abroad. And this 211 effort, as we saw it not being implemented or executed here, I knew it had to be done because it would be a game changer for our city and for our parish. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity for this to come to us, because I'm telling you, if you've not been one who lacked in whatever humanitarian need you might have, then you'll be finding yourself challenged when you don't. Simple things like light bills and food and things that are basic necessities of most of us. But to those who struggle, it is a life-changing moment. It alters everything about them. So now we have this moment where all of the council and all of the parish, we get the chance to say, we turn the light on all of those who were left in the dark. And I'm excited about that, and that's why I was so passionate about it. I'll tell you, my first true introduction was when we went to Monroe to see it in full-blown execution. I was moved because I realized someone had called with a need, it was answered appropriately, and they were given a source. So, you know me, we get back here, so I made 4 attempts. And the third attempt, I was a little concerned because I was like, hopefully we can meet the results. And do you know that lady would not stop until she got a resource for that family? So I was very grateful and very thankful. So in the spirit of this, we say it is the right thing to do, it is the right moment to do it, and all of us win when it's executed this way. So now, we chose Miss West to give the facts and figures and numbers. Do you know why? Because she is smart, and she's going to do a better job than Bruce and I.
So what 211 is, it's a powerful resource to help and hope. It is a place to call when you don't have nowhere to go for hope. It is a 24-hour service. And why do people call 211? Well, they're calling it for food assistance, housing, shelter, education, employment help, for rent, utility, counseling, rehabilitation, support groups, transportation, family, disaster services, you name it. This is a resource just to help the community. And so Bruce said it. We went 5 years without having 211, and during that time, you guys received calls when we had the flooding in 2015. The community had nowhere to call. And since we've had a soft opening in November 15th, there's already been 1,000 calls to 211. And some of you guys may know the area codes, 71104, 71106, 71107. These are where we've received 150 calls plus. And so these areas are areas in our community where we know constituents need help. They need access to resources, and 211 will give them just that. And we're just asking today for your support.
Well, thank y'all so much for this presentation. And as somebody who I was in office when they stopped doing 211 the first time, and I remember feeling it. There was more phone calls to our
Yep.
phones. You know, I mean, it was people needed help and they didn't know who to call, so they'd call whoever they could, and if it was their elected official, that's who. You know, I mean, hopefully I'm able to help them, and you know, but there are a lot of people that need that service.
Yeah.
And those zip codes don't surprise me because I think those are probably geographically closely related. You know, they're near where the center was before. Where, is it now housed out of the United Way offices, or where is the actual?
Well, what we're doing, Councilman Everson, is that 64 parishes in the state are now having their calls answered by the United Way 211 Center in Monroe.
Okay.
In our office, we house a resource database person who makes sure that all of the available services throughout the 10 parishes that we serve are in that database. All the state is interconnected, but also 95% of the nation is connected to that same database.
Oh, wow.
And can provide resources to people who call in. We are also, we have soft launched texting now too. And so you'll be able to, in just a few months, openly text and get those resources. So when somebody calls, the telephony comes up in Monroe, trained specialists. They know exactly where the person's calling from. They know what resources are close to them, and they make sure that it's the proper resource. So that's why when Dr. Cox said they kept asking me questions after questions, they're drilling down. And I would challenge you to go home tonight, test it.
Give them a call and see. I will start taking those tough questions that I get, and I'm like, I'm not sure who to send this to. I'll just call 211. That'll be great. I'm not even kidding. That is a helpful resource.
Yeah.
But I will say that number one, thank you. Number two, please keep us posted how we can help in terms of. And on multiple levels, I'm sure you need help in making sure this is successful. But some things that I think maybe don't necessarily get put at the forefront, that I think as elected officials we probably are in a special capacity to help, is number one, maybe sharing with that database specialist those resources that we know of that might be neighborhood specific, smaller, localized type resources that are still very helpful. And then number two, of course, getting the word out, making sure people know about it. I took a stack of cards from one of the events that y'all attended and have passed them out to people and left them at places where I know people go a lot. But I'm sure getting the word out and making sure that people know that this resource is available again is a big part of,
It's built into our budget, the marketing aspect, to make sure that the people know. For instance, we're not buying signs that are on Burt Coons, but we are buying signage in those zip codes of people who really will have those needs so that they know. We're doing that targeted kind of marketing, and we're appearing before the various entities making this known. But I mean, we just, in the middle of February towards the end, went live with it. So we've been working real hard. What we figured out, it cost us $185,000, and we've paid that. What we had to do was take money from other resources that we were going to give them to, but we felt this was so important as a board that we were going to do that. And we've worked it out for the population. We have 525,000 people in Northwest Louisiana, our 10 parishes. It works out to 33 cents an individual citizen in our area. And so what we have done is to go to various entities. We were before the Caddo Commission a week and a half ago, and they are going to financially help underwrite, replace those resources that we've already expended. And so as we talk to different people, I was in Mayor Walker's office this morning telling him about it, and there's just great excitement because it's kind of like a no-brainer. I mean, this gets people real help right now.
Yeah, it's a helpful resource.
Councilor Everson, one of the things we wanted to make sure is that they knew we would be fiscal responsible. And what we did was take the Monroe hub, utilize those resources, and not recreate that wheel. So don't spend dollars that you don't have. I said once they see that, they're going to know what the impact of that will be. So I'm really grateful for that. And we use what we call an iCarol system database. It's used to correlate all of the data and put these resources, and it's constantly updated by our specialists. So that way when someone calls, we got something that they can really drill down and get the help, because a system without proper protocol and really getting the help doesn't work. That's why we're getting the calls now. I'm just amazed. But did you know about 75% of those calls come from Caddo, which is amazing.
And of Caddo, 90% are coming from Shreveport.
Well, that would make sense. We are probably 90% of the population of Caddo, and probably 75% of the population of the district. So I think that seems like it's probably reasonable.
Councilman Jenkins?
One thing that occurred to me, and I certainly don't want to direct anybody's advertising budget, but particularly for things like this, bus benches, very effective for your target audience, i.e.,
not only the benches, but we're wrapping the buses.
Yeah.
because those are the people that are the amazing thing, anybody in pedestrian world probably doesn't see the billboards nearly as well as those other things. So that's key.
But we're also doing things like where are the population going? Laundromats. I hate it, but they're going to Thrifty Liquor or places like that as well.
For check cashing and things as well.
Yeah, someplace like that. So we're making
The boats.
Also, I wonder if really on some of our utility bills. I'm sure they'd be happy to include a notice on the utility bills that people that are looking for resources, that's a place they can go.
Absolutely.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
The one thing that occurred when I heard about the 211, and obviously I was one that knew the least about it. Well, I don't know, at least maybe spurred this on. But I do think it is incumbent on us in our position to kind of spread that word. So I do appreciate y'all taking this opportunity and educating some of us that didn't really understand and know about that it was out there. Because I certainly have opportunities where I can help out in that regard, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, one
Thank
second.
you.
I'm sorry, one moment, please. Councilman Bradford had something.
Yes. I was looking at your financial information information. What support are you asking the city in regards of tangible financial contributions? Is that what I'm looking at?
So we have reached out to community partners, and as we said before, the commission has made a pledge of $86,000. We do have a deficit of $92,000, and so we are asking for support. And this is something that we feel like the City Council could possibly do for us in the future. But we also wanted to see and partner with you guys to see what type of funding sources are available for 211. Yes.
At 33 cents a citizen, Shreveport would
It's 56,000 plus.
yeah.
For the city of Shreveport.
Okay, so that's how you allocate it? I mean,
And that's what we're doing. When we go to a town and to a parish, we present their population, and it's broken down, 33 cents a person, and depending on how many people, that's what it works out to.
Now, are we not Caddo citizens as well?
Yeah, I mean,
No, we're not
I'm
gonna
very hard pressed that if that 33 cents doesn't include us already, I'd be surprised.
But you know, we knew that we'd have to have a concrete, real number to say what really impact that have. That's a small number, but it's a game changer though. For the citizens.
And frankly, if we raise more than what the budget calls for, it's dedicated. It'll stay in that pot, 211,
Correct.
to be used for 211 as we keep going forward, marketing costs, other things. So it's not that we're going to raise more money than we need so we can go keep doing our other stuff that we're doing.
And then another part of this is when we were doing research on bringing 211 back, most of the 211s throughout the state are funded by the city council or the commission. And so that was important for us to do the presentation for you guys to let you know how it is funded through other parishes as well.
okay. And I guess in regards to your budget year, how does it go?
Well, our budget year is on a calendar budget.
Okay.
But that's not, it would be whatever your budget year is and what you wanted to do. It's not, I mean, we've already paid for it. It's up and running. It's not like we need it to get started right now. But if it could be considered in the next budgeting cycle, that would be a wonderful thing.
I see. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No pressure, in other
Yes.
words.
May I? Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson and Dr. Cox and Ms. Is it Jenkins? West. I did go to the initial kickoff, and I was very, very impressed. And I think I have the question that I have, and I did not know, that you were looking for financial help. Otherwise, we could have sat down and then brought it before the council, and then we could look to see how it is that we can help and what recommendation I can make. That's the first thing I want to say. Secondly, from the parish, we are in the parish, and I don't know if you did your counting, and I think somebody mentioned it. I think Councilman Jefferson, we're part of the parish. Most of the parish citizens live in Shreveport. And most of the tax dollars, I won't say most, a lot of the tax dollars, about $13 million a year, come from the citizens in Shreveport, but they go directly to the parish. And we do a lot of things within the city that they don't do. That's the first thing I want you to keep in mind. And secondly, I would like to know if that figure that you quoted about the parish commission, did it include Shreveport as being in the parish? That's my first question.
I was going to say, mathematically, 100%.
Yes.
Because I just
So we're
did that
already
math.
included. So you're asking us to look at offering some additional financial support. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. And the other municipalities, you're doing the same thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so what I'd like to propose, and I will certainly be in collaboration with the council, we work very closely together, because, we have funding that comes in for different areas, even federal dollars. And I'd like to take a look at some of those to see, because I'm in agreement with you. This is something that is a game changer. And I think it is something that's sorely needed. We get the calls every day, and we refer them to various agencies to get help. But if they could call a 211,
Right.
it's going to help us quite a bit.
Right.
Because a lot of times, our phones are ringing off the hook, people needing the help.
And so, we'll be glad to work with you.
Yes.
Thank you
Mayor
all so
Tyler,
much.
I would like to say that it would take that additional strain off the police department, the fire department, because they get all of these calls
Absolutely.
for help
Absolutely.
that 211 can probably leverage for them.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Well, thank you all.
Yes.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Tyler, did you have any awards or recognitions or anything?
I have an announcement whenever you get to me.
To you now.
Get to me now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members of the council and to our citizens, our first announcement is I'd like to thank those of you who attended the grand reopening of Fire Station 17 last week. We're glad to have that station back online for our citizens in Southern Hills area. Chief Wolverton and Mrs. Shelley Regal Wood and their teams did a great job in getting the facility ready for public viewing, and I know some of you were able to attend. It was a magnificent day, and while we were there, we did some other things, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Last week, we held also the celebration, Community Development Week with Fun Day at Valencia Park. I want to thank Mrs. Bonnie Moore and her team for hosting that event in the Stony Hill neighborhood that has benefited from some of the community development block grants. I want to also thank Mrs. Angelita Jackson. Is Ms. Jackson present? I don't see her. Our Human Resources Director for the success of the 2018 Spring Leadership Conference that was held at the Convention Center last week. We had several hundred professionals and students to attend the two sessions, where Dr. Randall Pinkett was the keynote speaker. He's a published author, a business consultant, and a winner on the TV show The Apprentice. He did a magnificent job inspiring the audience, and so we were very excited to have him in our city. We had two community meetings last week in Southern Hills and Broadmoor to inform residents in those areas about the April 28 election. We discussed the continuation of the 6 tax propositions, which will allow us to continue to provide basic city services. We've done and will continue doing a lot of those type meetings at our community centers. And I want to say thank you to those council members who either came to help support, make remarks, or those who even text in their comments. I think in the Broadmoor area, Councilman Jenkins was out of town, but he did text in his support, and thank you, all of you, for what you've done along those lines. Coming up this week, I want to invite residents to participate in the Great American Cleanup on Saturday. Each year, we ask neighborhoods to join us in cleaning up our city. And let me just say, we're asking every day. Even though the announcements say each year, we're asking every day for citizens not only to clean up, but to not throw down the trash and the litter. If we don't throw it down, we don't have to clean it up. But certainly if you see it down, if you will just get your neighborhood teams together and do one cleanup a month, you will be helping to keep the place you call home looking good. I want you to know Shreveport Green will be leading this effort, the Great American Cleanup, this Saturday, and they've been leading it for many years. Volunteers will be out in the community in the morning and will return to the fairgrounds for a combination event with food and prizes from 10 a.m. until noon. And I want to invite each of you to the groundbreaking ceremony tomorrow at 4 p.m. At Bilberry Park. We will begin a $1.5 million construction project on that community center. And I want to once again thank Ms. Shelley Regal Wood for leading that effort. And council members, you may note, and please note, over the past 3 years, we have not only broken ground and renovated many of the community centers. And I want to thank you for your support. But it takes a lot of hard work, it takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot of thinking and a lot of trying to get done what the citizens expect us to get done with the funding that was allocated from the 2011 bond proposal. I want you to know it was good to have the money passed by the citizens, but we're trying to make it work today. And today's costs are quite different, but we are getting it done, and I have a team that's really getting it done. I'm grateful. Also tomorrow at 10:30 a.m., the City of Shreveport will honor local public safety telecommunications officers from the Shreveport Fire and Police Departments, as well as the Caddo Sheriff's Office, for National Telecommunication Week. This week is sponsored by the Association of Public Safety Communication Officials International and is celebrated annually. I want to let everyone know about the opportunity to buy into EMS Life Care, which is the ambulance membership program that is offered by the Shreveport Fire Department to the public. The cost is $35 annually, and open enrollment closes May 31st. I'll say that again. The open enrollment will close this May 31st. You can enroll online at www.shreveportla.gov/EMS Life Care. www.shreveportla.gov/EMS Life Care. We continue to serve our citizens with numerous events. Since we met last, the city has supported several events, including Hollywood Heights Spring Fling, Citywide Easter Egg Hunt. All community centers did that. Community Development Fun Day in the Park at Valencia. Metropolitan Ballet performance of Cinderella at Riverview Hall. And Cork Wine Festival at Festival Plaza. Those are just a few of the events. I want you to know that we are continuing to serve our citizens with a variety of events and family fun type events throughout this city. And so what I see in Shreveport is that we're growing and that we're continuing to provide great services. People are coming here from all around the Arklatex. Thank you so much for your support. And those are the announcements that we have today.
Thank you, Mayor Tyler. I think we got the email from Mr. Crawford and Ms. Jones. Got an email from Mr. Bradford. Mr. Thompson. Understand the public hearing needs to be postponed. Is that?
That's correct. I don't know if the city attorney has any additional remarks.
Yes, we're going to ask that resolution number 51 as well as the public hearing related to it be postponed. We need to run an additional advertisement at a time. One advertisement did run, but we need to run one more additional. It won't affect the timing of it. It's just to make sure that we have all the proper notices out.
All right. No one had anything for Mr. Green before he comes forward? None. Thank you, Mr. Green. And is there any legislation to be added today, Mr. Thompson?
We have one item. It's Resolution 53. It authorizes the placement of a sign on city-owned property.
Okay.
Is there a reason for it not to be?
Need to speak for or against.
Is in the audience also? Is anyone out here to be to speak for or against number 53? Anyone to speak for or against number 53? Seeing none.
Make a motion to add this item to the agenda.
Been added by the vice chair, seconded by Councilman Corbin. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Aye. Motion carries 6-0. We have the following to speak.
We have the following to speak, and honestly, I'd like to use this to take a little city council privilege because I didn't want to recognize somebody earlier, but I must have missed that section. But Ms. Phillips is here again to talk a little bit about the motorcycle safety. So since she had spoken last time, if we could bring her up now, that would be great.
And on her way up, you know what? Maybe I missed it because I am distracted. But did anybody recognize our city attorney, Will Bradford, for his recognition as one of the 40 under 40 at Dillard? which was a big acknowledgement. They were acknowledging successful alumni, and so I wanted to congratulate him on that.
Frank? You didn't tell me.
Hi, how are you guys doing? I'm Z. Phillips. I'm with A-Beta of Louisiana. I'm the Northwest Chapter President. And I'm here, I want to thank Mayor Tyler for the proclamation. I know it's sitting on your desk. I have to come by and pick it up. I thank you very much for that. I wanted to bring you to your attention today that we had 3 motorcycle accidents since the last time I was here. All 3 of them ended up in the hospital in major condition. So I wanted to see if I could get you guys to help us with some signage, making people more aware of the motorcyclists on the roads.
And okay, let me just say, so when you're saying us, you're saying you're interested in the city?
Yes.
Okay. So, and I just say, happy to have the discussion here in the public domain. I will say it's not necessarily a particularly effective way of us, for the administration or us to really move forward with that. We probably are better served to take this up in a public safety committee meeting to kind of discuss kind of what you had envisioned and kind of us talk about it. And so we could schedule a public safety, unless the rest of the council.
Or even maybe just a meeting, a special scheduled meeting with them so we can get a better understanding
of what you are.
Yeah,
okay.
I'd be happy to participate in that if that's something.
Okay.
So let's talk about that at least. I have your email on this, right? So this will work?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I would say, let us circulate between us, either setting up a public safety and committee meeting and then coordinate with you. Okay. Ideally, we ought to be able to do that, a week from, or 2 weeks from today, or 2 weeks from yesterday, somewhere in that time frame, a Monday or Tuesday when we meet again.
Okay.
We have that before the city council meeting, just allows us to do some dialogue rather than do it in an open forum like this. Okay?
Okay.
Chair,
I'm sorry.
if she could, in advance, maybe email us some of her considerations or proposed ways in which we can help would be helpful within that conversation.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure when I send the email to her to ask her to respond back with some ideas if she has. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Also, we're having next month is Motorcycle Awareness Month, and we're having a big meeting at Country Tavern on May 1st at 7 p.m. I'd like to invite the mayor and you guys to come by. I just want to get our motorcyclists involved and get them to start coming here and helping, protect us all. The accidents that happened on Interstate 20 was a couple out of Tyler, Texas. The interstate traffic is horrible, horrible, horrible. The speeds. I was on interstate the other day on my bike, and I felt really, really afraid. So I'd like for us to be able to work on speed as well.
Okay. That was an accident on 220 as well.
It was, yes, sir. It was.
What happened to that person?
Actually, a vehicle hit an 18-wheeler and ricocheted off the 18-wheeler onto the motorcyclist.
Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a fatal, was it?
No, sir. Everybody's ended up in ICU. Thank God it wasn't. No one died.
On the May 1st meeting, that's at Country Tavern at what time?
At 7 p.m.
Yeah. And Oliver has your contact
I have it on her.
If you could share that, I'd like to just reach out and make sure I understand what's going on.
Okay, perfect. No, but I intend to just compose an email and CC all the city council.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much. And if I may, if you will just please call my office to get that date, because I don't have my calendar with me, so I don't know what I have going. If you'll just call my office and leave your name and that date.
I emailed your assistant.
Good.
And she's got all the information.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All righty.
Okay. Let's start with Sammy Mears.
Sammy Mears, 1901 Centenary Boulevard, apartment M110, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. I may never have heard of the National Poetry Month for April 2018. However, I do believe it sounds like a wonderful, great idea. It really does. The reason is that people can create poems and even write them out. There are poems that can be very rhymable, real good, and I say go for it. And in fact, I remember that I have a few of my very own that I have remembered a long time ago, because back in school we did have the opportunity to create a poem and write it. And I have a few here that I remember. I called Dr. Bombay. He didn't obey. Meeting people is a pleasure, and they really are quite a treasure. Or, if you don't get rid of this thing, you'll sound like a ding-a-ling. Fiddle-dee-dee, you sound like me. Or you might check this out. Hello, Darius. The pleasure of seeing you is rather vicarious. This is absurd. I won't even rhyme a single word. I just thought that, oh yes, I just could not find a rhyme. Oh, 9:30 a.m. is the time. Those were just a few that I thought would be pretty good. And then there was a couple of others that I thought might help out too. Or actually, yeah, stoic low, I'm having a fit. Mel, kiss my grits. Or how about this one? 2 TV antennas, and I believe, James, don't fall out of your chair laughing, please. 2 TV antennas were married and was all in their fate. The wedding was awful. The reception was great. I hope those will help out with your national poem.
Okay, well, there might have been a haiku in the middle of there that really didn't fall as a poem, but we'll let it go this time. Next time, a little more.
They rhyme.
They did rhyme. I suggest you call Stephanie, who's the author of this, and read all of that back to her again.
Would that be Councilwoman Lynch?
Yeah, she would love to hear that.
Okay.
Love to hear that.
Mr. Weiner, please.
Bill Weiner, number 2 Longleaf Lane, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106. I put in 2 slips. One was on the architect selection committee. This board has said that they were going to meet with people and come back with a revised ordinance. I can't find out what they came back with, so I can't speak to it. It's on your agenda today, but I don't know what it is. So it would be nice to be able to see that. Then I can either support it or point out the weaknesses.
So you, just out of curiosity, you didn't get Art's email yesterday still? You have not received it?
No.
And you were not able to see the link on the agenda?
Right.
Okay.
It might be there. I didn't see it. The other thing, and I don't want to be redundant, is about, it's on the agenda, moving the MPC from the city parish to the city. It's terrible on every level. And I'm not going to sit here and repeat and repeat and repeat. But please don't do that. It's going in the opposite direction of where it should be. Planning is about the big picture, and we need a organization that can look at the parish, the city, and everything to plan for next generations, the grandchildren, and it needs to be independent. Because of my 50 years of being up here, I have seen that elected commission and council use economic pressure to allow things to happen in violation of the ordinances and codes for political reasons. And that has to stop. The MPC can give information to you to help you make a more informed decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And
I yield my minutes.
Tanya has both the ordinance. Mr. Weiner.
Billy.
Tanya has both the ordinance and the proposed amendment to the ordinance.
Okay. Let me read it. If I have a comment, I'll raise my hand.
We better rush. Okay. That being said, I'd like to bring up a different agenda item now. Just kidding. Okay. That's all we have at this point, Mr. Chair.
Is that it?
For agenda items.
There are no executive appointments today. There are no items on the consent agenda. Mr. Thompson, let's continue.
We have two items on the consent agenda for resolutions. Resolution 47 and Resolution 48. And a motion to adopt the consent agenda for those two items would be in order.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Corbin and seconded by Vice Chair. Please vote. Motion carries with 6.
We're now under the regular agenda legislation, resolutions on second reading and final passage. Resolution 38 authorizes 9766 Wallace Lake Road to make a connection to the city of Shreveport's water and sewer system.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Corbin, seconded by the Vice Chair. Any discussion?
Unless Fleury has a problem with it.
Please vote. Motion carries with 6, 1 absent.
Guess it's really closer.
Resolution 42 authorizes the mayor to accept a donation from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives.
So moved. Moved by Councilman Everson, second by Councilman Fleury. Any discussions? Please vote. Motion carries with 6, 1 absent.
Resolution 43 authorizes the mayor to enter into a donation agreement with Sabine Parish
moved.
Fire District Number 1.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Everson, second by the Vice Chair. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries with 6 and 1 absent.
Resolution 44 authorizes the acceptance of a grant from the National
So moved.
Recreation and Parks Association.
Moved by Councilman Everson, second by Councilman Fleury. Seeing no discussion, please vote. Motion carries with 6 and 1 absent.
Resolution 45 authorizes the use of certain equipment by the North Shreveport Business Association.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Bradford and second by Vice Chair. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries with 6 and 1 absent.
Resolution 46 authorizes the use of certain equipment by Shreveport.
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Councilman Corbin.
Everson
Councilman Everson.
and Jenkins second.
And second by Councilman Jenkins. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries with 6, 1 absent.
Resolution 49 establishes April 2018 as Natural Poetry Month in the city of Shreveport.
So moved.
Enthusiastically seconded. No, I'm just kidding.
Did you say something that rhymed?
Been moved by,
Could you give us
been moved by Councilman Bradford, and seconded by Councilman Everson.
I'm off the hook.
I should have known.
Any discussion?
Jackie might want to give you one.
Jackie White?
Jackie White gonna give us, who's gonna give us some spoken word? Right?
I'll do that.
Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries with 6. The author is absent.
That's the name of her first collection of poems. The author is absent.
Yeah, that. Please continue, Mr. Tucker.
We passed a resolution. I hope I do not get retribution for the statement that I made.
Stay in your district.
Resolution number 50 authorizes the city of Shreveport to proceed with the conversion to a fixed rate of the remaining principal balance of $35,985,000 Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority revenue refunding bonds for the Shreveport Convention Center Hotel Project, Series 2008, making such modifications and/or amendments to the bond documents as are required to effectuate such conversion to a fixed rate and providing for other matters with respect thereto.
Been moved by Councilman Everson and seconded by the chair.
Just a quick comment. Thank Pam very much for supplying me with some of those numbers. I don't know if y'all were on the email, but I'm happy to circulate it if you would. But they're significant savings in terms of this being a prudent decision. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Mobley. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries with 6, 1 absent.
Resolution number 51 should be postponed.
Until May 8th.
Move to postpone until May 8th.
Been moved by Councilman Everson and seconded by the Vice Chair to postpone. Please vote. Motion carries with 6 and 1 absent.
Mr. Chairman, we're now in the introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to April the 24th. Resolution 52 authorizes the City of Shreveport, State of Louisiana to hire professionals in connection with the conversion to a fixed rate of the remaining principal balance of $35,985,000. Louisiana Local Governmental Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority revenue refunding bonds for the Shreveport Convention Center Hotel Project Series 23008, making such modifications and/or amendments to the bond documents as are required to effectuate such conversion, making any necessary modification to the Louisiana State Bond Commission, notification to the Louisiana State Bond Commission for approval of related fees and providing for other matters with respect thereto. And the item that was added, Resolution 53, authorizing the placement of a sign on city-owned property and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So moved for introduction.
Been moved by Councilman Everson and seconded by Councilman Jenkins.
Sure.
Oh, I think because I made a motion during the reading earlier on, but if you would rather,
Very well done.
If you would rather that be my second to your motion, I am happy to oblige.
I had no idea that the signage was going to require 2 readings.
I didn't either, which is why I made my motion before he started reading it.
Please vote. Motion carries with 6, 1 absent.
We're now in the introduction of ordinances not to be adopted prior to April the 24th. Ordinance 31 amends the 2018 capital improvements budget. Ordinance number 32 is a series ordinance pursuant to the 2016 General Revenue Bond Ordinance, authorizing the issuance of not exceeding $100 million of 1 Water and Sewer Revenue Bond Series 2018B and 2 Water and Sewer Revenue Bonds Junior Lien Series 2018C of the City of Shreveport, State of Louisiana, establishing certain details of such bonds as required by the 2016 General Revenue Bond Ordinance, approving and confirming the sale of such bonds, pledging the net revenues of the system to secure such bonds, prescribing the form, certain terms, and conditions of said bonds, and providing other matters in connection therewith. Ordinance 33, to add Chapter 105 to the City of Shreveport Code of Ordinances relative to wireless telecommunications facilities, specifically adding Article 1 and Article 2 relative to general provisions in small wireless facilities and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Ordinance 34, an ordinance to amend the Metropolitan Planning Commission's fee schedule for the City of Shreveport of the Unified Development Code relative to fees for wireless telecommunications and facade review, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Attorney Bradford.
Yes, sir. Just for the council's edification, there will be an amendment offered on Ordinance 33 in the future, just to include some technical agreements that we have with the industry, just to update that, just so you know.
So this ordinance that's attached on 33 is not the final one that y'all were discussing yesterday?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yeah. But it will have some technical adjustments and the updated fee schedule.
Okay, got it.
And we'll get a chance to see those?
Yes.
Okay. This is just introduction.
Motion introduce.
Second.
Wait, Councilman Bradford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I think you may have answered it, but I was appreciative for the fact that the industry and the city has been meeting and reached some type of compromise. These two, 33 and 34, have the industry reviewed these as well?
Yes, and they provided comments as well.
Okay. So they had their input?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're ready to move forward?
Correct.
Okay.
Accept.
What about the fee schedules? Are those?
They've also reviewed them as well.
Everybody comfortable with those?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Robert drives a hard deal back there.
Is that Robert there?
Robert's here.
He looks mean, doesn't he? I mean, he looks like a tough guy to deal with. And, I mean, rip your head off, kind of Marine-like. Yeah, I can get that picture.
It's been moved by Councilman Everson and second by Councilman Corbin. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries with 6 and 1 absent.
Mr. Chairman, we're now in the ordinances on second reading and final passage. The first is ordinance number 9. It amends and reenacts certain divisions of Chapter 26, Article 6, Division 3 of the Code of Ordinances relative to architectural and engineering services. There is one amendment. This amendment replaces the entire ordinance, but the title remains the same. It adds an architect recommended by the Shreveport chapter of the AIA, who is appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council. The chairman of the infrastructure committee is removed from the original ordinance that's on the agenda. And all citizens appointees will serve one 4-year term and are prevented from serving a second consecutive term.
Motion to adopt.
Or I guess we got to make a motion on the amendment.
On amendment. I make a motion on the amendment. To adopt.
It's moved by Councilman Fleury and second by Councilman Corbin. Please vote.
And this is to amend the ordinance, right?
Yeah.
This vote, right?
Motion carries with 6 and 1 absent.
Approve as amended, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Bradford and seconded by
Councilman.
Councilman Fleury. Please vote. Motion carries with 6, 1 absent.
Ordinance number 27 will close and abandon portions of Coolidge Street, Uranus Avenue, and Jupiter Lane in the Manchester Annex subdivision in Section 23, Township 18 North, Range 14 West.
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bradford and seconded by Councilman Fleury. Any discussions?
Yeah, let me just mention, and I think the council is aware that this these streets actually runs through and around the Pipes property where they have wrecking yards and things, and has been evaluated by city, and there's no right-of-way impediments or anything. So this is a good move to abandon those streets.
Thank you, Councilman Bradford. Please vote. Motion carries with 6, 1 absent.
Ordinance 28 authorizes and provides for the encroachment on a portion of the McNeil Street right-of-way.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilman Everson
Second.
and second by Councilman Corbin. Any discussions? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries with 6 and 1 absent.
Ordinance 29 amends the 2018 budget for the general fund. I believe this concerns city courts.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Everson and second by Councilman Fleury. Any discussion? Please vote. That motion carries with 6.
Ordinance number 30 establishes.
Mr. Clerk,
Yes.
I'm going to make a motion to move this to May 8th.
Postpone.
Motion to postpone until May 8th.
I support that.
2018, just out of curiosity. Just kidding.
Yes, 2018.
I could imagine what those names used to do.
Motion to postpone by Councilman Fleury and seconded by the vice chair.
I believe it was Mr. Bradford.
Just asking, I thought you talked.
Didn't you post?
I did.
He did.
Second by Councilman Bradford.
Until May the 8th, 2018.
To May 8th, 2018. I had a good statement to make today too, but I'll hold and wait till May 8th.
Yeah, let's put it on ice.
Put it on ice. Seeing no other discussion, please vote. That motion carries with 6, 1 absent.
Mr. Chairman, those are all of the items on the regular agenda. I'm not aware that the item on the table agenda is to be removed.
What's that?
I think we just tabled this. I thought we
Table on March 3rd. I think they're waiting on some from the city on this, right?
What? I don't recall the situation. We're just talking about this item on the table.
Okay.
Is something that we don't really recall much discussion about it. So I don't remember.
Patrick, will you come up and maybe we can?
I mean, I'm sure we discussed it. It's just not fresh in anyone's memory. I don't think.
Did it have something to do with Fannie Mae?
What are you going to ask? This is not her. This is not her area.
Yeah, this was a closure and abandonment to help a project move forward.
Okay.
But it came to the attention of the city and the MPC that this project had some issues with permitting and zoning, and I believe it was tabled until those issues were worked out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank goodness for Patrick.
We have no property standards appeals. Are there any other appeals, Mr. Thompson?
We have no appeals, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any reports from in our board committee? Vice Chair Jenkins.
Okay, based on quick review with availability, it looks like we're going to try to hold a Public Safety Committee meeting at 2 p.m. 2 weeks from yesterday in the chamber to discuss what Ms. Phillips mentioned today about how we could support the motorcycle community, or at least what they envisioned.
It's going to be here.
Here, yes, sir. And apparently there isn't a conflict with any other meetings, so that's how we came up with 2 o'clock Monday.
Thank you, Councilman Jenkins. Councilman Bradford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to give a report of the public hearing that the Council Task Force and Small and Emergency Business Committee held on Wednesday, April 5th. Mr. Chairman, this public hearing was held to afford Gateway Development Consortium, GDC, the opportunity to make a presentation on their proposed mixed-use waterfront property project called Cross Bayou Point. I'm trusting that the council have been getting some communications through email and other means from GDC. GDC, Mr. Chairman, is proposing to negotiate a non-binding letter of intent with the city of Shreveport, followed by formal negotiations to create a public-private partnership to move the project, Cross Bayou Point project, forward as soon as possible. The MOU will outline the scope of the development and responsibilities of both GDC in the city. This proposed 10-year, $1 billion development will be anchored by a municipal complex, a technological-based school, a mixed-use residential and single-family housing complex with shops and stores. GDC team has a blend of local and national partners. The local partners have done a great job, in my opinion, of building support for this project. At this time, GDC is asking that local government, that is the city of Shreveport, would demonstrate to those that are interested parties the intent to partner with them and with the potential investors so that this project can move forward. From their presentation, it appears that there are partners outside of this area that believes in this project, and they want us to believe in it as well. They demonstrated that this city is approximately 60% African American, and local and minority participation will be greatly emphasized. GDC partners represented the best and brightest opportunities at this time for this community. I congratulated them on their presentation, and the group of business persons, both local and minority, who is a part of this project, and I challenged them that they continue these efforts as we will take ownership of the future. GDC has provided the council with letters. I think it's approximately over 2 dozen letters of interest from some of the largest and local people around. The Shreveport Chamber of Commerce, the African American Chamber of Commerce, the Minority Business Association, among others, have submitted those letters. It appears that the GDC local partners have the experience and talent, and they have assembled a national group of experts as well. GDC, in their presentation and beyond, has been very transparent. They are open to public scrutiny. They have a website. They presented us with printed material that anybody could go on and review this project. The task force, Mr. Chairman, took no action. If or when their presentation would be brought before this full council has not been determined. At this time, I only ask that the council members become more familiar with GDC as well as with this project. On a personal note, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a couple of comments. I would like to first reference 2 scriptures. The first scripture being Proverbs 29:18, and it says, "Where there is no vision, the people perished." And the second scripture, Mr. Chairman, I want to reference is 2 Kings 7:3b. And that scripture said, "And they said to one another, why sit here until we die?" The citizens of this city has a right to expect and have expectations from their elected leaders. They elected us to help make their lives better and to make their neighborhoods safer, among others. This council or this mayor should never be afraid to do what we are elected to do. In this instance, and others, in spite of negativity and acts of intimidation, we must be courageous enough to do what we think is best for this city. Like I said on yesterday, For many reasons and different reasons, people who follow real Shreveport and others view Shreveport as a dying city. My concern, Mr. Chairman, if we was to categorize Shreveport as a dying city, and I feel that our biggest threat is that we have not, yet we must address the high poverty level that exists in this city. We are hovering around the 20 percentile. And if you add the 21% of our citizens who are barely inking out a living wage, that living wage level would rise to 45%, which means that 45% of our citizens are either living on or below the poverty line. We need a lifeline. Whether it's an influx of new economic opportunities, an influx of new residents, of new jobs, we must look very broadly at new opportunities and new things that will help make this city grow and move forward. Through the years, mayors and councils have embraced many public-private projects. Some have succeeded, and some have not. But they tried. They tried to bring in new economic opportunities for the citizens of this city. And likewise, Mr. Chairman, as we are beginning to be in the dawn of our terms, we must not leave no stone unturned to see where and how we can engage in opportunities that will bring such to this city. As city government, it is our responsibility to try and do something that will make our residents' lives better, create jobs. I was at the North Shreveport Business Association luncheon today. A member of the Kettle Parish Sheriff Department made a report. And he said in his report, he gave us some crime statistics, and he said crime ain't going nowhere. And he said that, and it was to my surprise and unsurprise, that those persons that are being arrested, confined, and once they are released, are going back out doing the same things. The usual suspects. And the question was why? And my response to myself was because they have no jobs or they'll have no hope to get a job, so they do what they think they need to do to survive. This council, this mayor, this administration, it's incumbent upon us, whether it's this project or not, it's incumbent upon us to help some of our citizens move beyond their state of doom and gloom, cynicism, and apathy. If we are a dying city, Mr. Chairman, as some have claimed, then let's die fighting. Let's die fighting to save this city. Let's fight to bring economic opportunities to the city. Let's try to calm the fears and the anxieties of so many of our residents by letting them see us as a government do all we can to help make their lives better. If we are dying, Mr. Chairman, let us die trying. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. So on this, anybody have any questions? I'm sorry.
Oh, not on that, but just quickly on that sort of the last statements of what Councilman Bradford was saying. I will say that while I realize I'm not that young anymore, I've been on city council a minute. When I first got elected, I was a little younger, and some of the younger people that I kind of hear from that are a bit younger, that are in their 20s, early 30s now. One of the interesting things I think, I don't hear from them as much about the city dying, but what I think is that oftentimes people may see, it's sort of a perspective, and I think if you grew up during a time where communities were continually expanding the debt load that they had and were building things and building things and building things, but they were doing it all on the backs of the future people. And now we're the future people. So, we've kind of said, okay, hold up, let's pay off some of this debt, let's live within our means, let's be a little bit more realistic. So that might feel like dying to them, but in some senses it might be right-sizing or might be just paying off their debts. And so it's, there's all perspective to it, and I think there's a lot of hope to be found in it. And there are good sides, there are challenges, but none of these are things that are unique to one community or another. They're things that exist in a lot of places, and I believe in the good people of Shreveport. I think we have it in us to figure out some good solutions to a lot of good things. So regardless of one project or another, I don't think we should hang our sentiment of our community. I think we should be proud of ourselves and work hard and do be the best Shreveport we can be, and I think that can be done in a lot of different ways, and so I appreciate this kind of closing sentiments and just wanted to kind of expound on that a little bit and say there's a lot of hope to be had, and there's a lot of good things going on in addition to some of the doom and gloom we hear about.
No one else? Well, I too appreciate the comments and the wording that you had. But I guess my question is, and what's the elephant in the room, is what's the difference in this Gateway project or the Cross Bayou project than the one we had on the table some months ago? And that's what I get questions about, and that's what's on my mind too. So what's the big difference in the two to make us now a dying city, and we wasn't dying at that time, or were we dying at that time too? I don't think,
Mr. Chairman, that the dying sentiment was attached to this project. This city is transitioning. It's undisputed. We're changing, and I'm gonna respond to your question, but I want to say this, and I'm saying it only because I feel it and I want to say it. In that, what concerns me, and it's nothing different, because in Memphis last Tuesday, during the celebration of the Martin Luther King 50-year assassination, the question that was while there was a commemoration going on, there was also a protest going on. Local residents was protesting city government because they booed the mayor, they booed other elected officials that was on the scene, and they was chanting, "Nothing has changed, nothing has changed." 50 years later, nothing has changed, and they did a report. I don't know if you saw it in USA Today. They actually did a report saying 50 years after King, and they gave statistics on how Memphis, and especially in the African American community, is worse off now than it was 50 years ago. And I said before, at the last council meeting, I may have said that I was born yesterday and my head's not in the sand. I'm a civil rights baby. And that transition cities creates challenges as well as opportunities. Atlanta took advantage of opportunities. Jackson, Mississippi, Memphis, Little Rock, was faced with the challenges. Now, this is election year. In November, we may have a completely different polling. There's no guarantees. We know 3 of our brightest council members are not eligible for re-election. A 4th may not run. I don't know about the other 2. But the challenge is going to be if District B, which is a majority now voting black district, elects a black council person. That would make 4 African Americans. I'm sure we have a black mayor. And cities don't always respond to that in a positive way. That's why I'm wanting us to set a legacy from this point on to prepare the city for this time, for this change of demographics, change of personalities. It's important that we do that. I retired from Willis Knighton back in September to take care of my mother. And before I left, I made sure that whoever was going to replace me was prepared, was ready to assume that responsibility. Yeah. Now, little did I know that I would be requested to come back. So I'm happily, fully employed again, but that's fine. But my point is that we have options. My son said that he may not be around after next year, and more and more young people that we are hearing saying, I'm moving. I don't have opportunity here. I don't have the same quality of life that I can get in other places. And my heart just beats to believe that I will not have access to my beautiful grandbaby if they move. Now, to your question, Mr. Chairman, we scrutinize that opportunity, that proposal. The difference, and I have not said, it was a great presentation. I have not said whether we was ready to actually deal with it. But right off the top, from the previous proposition, a proposal, there was a city stipulation that we needed to come up with $30 million. And the anchor of that project was a sports arena. And there's nothing in our history that says that we support sports at that level. We struggle with Independence Bowl.
Well, it's a multi-use facility with one tenant being a sports team, but with year-round availability.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. But it was a $30 million commitment that we was asked to commit. At this time, they're only asking for a memorandum of understanding. That if that moves beyond a memorandum of understanding, we could gauge and see the various steps in which they are actually executing what they are proposing to do. And at any time that we feel uncomfortable with that this is not moving forward, we have the ability to cancel out. We don't, but again, I remember, other projects, that we took on, the Canadian Football League. We renovated our whole stadium, We put up signs to get McDonnell Douglas. We've done opportunities to try to infuse new economics in this city. I'm not saying that was a good or bad, but I just we got a baseball stadium over there that's deteriorating. I'm just saying that sports is not our forte.
But they got an arena in this. That's what I'm saying. It's the same. They're proposing an arena in this plan also. So I'm just trying. Are you saying it's because of the monetary commitment, or?
No, I'm saying that they are saying that they have Fortune 500 companies. They have Wall Street investors that are willing to take a chance on Shreveport.
We had $139 million.
I'm sorry?
We had $139 million ready to come, and from a guy who was reputable.
Well,
Mr. Benson. So I'm just confused, and I'm answering the question because that's all that's been asked to me, and I get a lot of emails and texts. And I get stopped and say, "What's the difference with this and with that one? Or why would the council go along with this and they didn't go along with that?" So I'm just getting the question.
The council hadn't went along with this one. The council.
I'm saying it's asking why would we?
Huh?
Why would we?
Why would we?
Yeah.
Again, this is the introductory of this project. The last project was availed to us, and we had opportunity to engage those investors to that. I think we'll have that same opportunity. I think before us we can require the same type of involvement. And if and when a time comes that we think we should act on it or not act on it, then that's our prerogative. But I'm just saying, at this point, I myself is not prepared to say that this one is different or better or worse. It's just that I saw local people that I'm familiar with, that come before that committee and express. I saw the Chamber of Commerce. I saw other familiar entities within this city come before us and believe that this may be something that we can embrace and look at. They just asked. They sent letters to 2 dozen or more from these entities and others saying, "Let's see where this goes. Let's see where this may go," and that's all they're asking, and that's all that this body could do in support is to say, do we or do we not want to see if this is indeed a good project for this city. And we're in the early stages. There's a website up. There's other information that's out there for us. And at the time that this body, I'm not talking about today or tomorrow, that this body may engage in this, in the real conversation, where the real rubber meets the road. That time will come and be afforded us. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Vice Chair Jenkins.
Oh, it wasn't necessarily related to this specific issue, so are we finished with that, or people have more comments on this?
I don't know. I think that was it. I was just concerned about some questions that I had on that, but that's it.
Okay. No. And like I said, before changing streams, I want to make sure everybody had their oars in the water, in the right. So it's an appeal, but I think it has significant relevance to the city of Shreveport, both as opportunities here and promoting our city. As those that follow hockey or the Mud Bugs, there's a big deal this week, and it is a significant benefit to any user, frankly, that is a user of Hirsch. So there's a contest out there sponsored by Kraft, and KRAFT, make a lot of different products for consumers. But one thing they do is sponsor a $150,000 grant for hockey across the United States. City of Shreveport and familiarly Hirsch/George's Pond is one of the 3 or 4 finalists for this $150,000 grant. There's a 24-hour window beginning on Friday night to go cast a vote electronically. And I don't know what the rules are about advertising from the podium, so I'm not going there, but certainly think it's prudent for us to encourage our constituents and others that not only support hockey, but support other activities in this city, because we would all be the beneficiary of this grant ultimately. And the place to cast your vote, unlimited voting, I believe, is crafthockeyville.com, crafthockeyville.com, crafthockeyville.com. Specific period starting Friday night through Saturday. So I'd like to see everybody try to encourage others out there to go out and cast a vote. It'd be a great deal for the city of Shreveport. One of the key things that if we would be so fortunate to win not only the $150,000, but we'd also have potentially a preseason NHL hockey game here in Shreveport, which would be a great deal in and of itself. We don't get too many preseason professional sporting events here of that magnitude, so that'd be another great deal. So that's a little commercial public service announcement, so please pass that on. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Councilman Fleury.
I just want to call your attention that you were given a flyer. We're having our Southern Hills Music in the Park next Saturday. I mean the 28th, not next Saturday, but April the 28th from 11 to 6 in the park. We'll have some live music. It'll be pet friendly. I'm not sure who Betty Virginia Park's in. I don't know if it's Councilman Jenkins or Councilman Everson, but that was absolutely well attended and first class. And the gentleman that put that on will be putting on this one. So I just want to be sure that you got your invite and hope that you can make it.
It sounds like a lot of fun, and I hope the weather is. It's not always easy to predict, but I hope it works out very well for y'all. It sounds like a good day.
Mayor Tyler?
I just have one final announcement. I'm going to be sending council members a statement that I sent to our media regarding the wonderful I-49 landscaping project that is taking place even as we speak. We've had 1 or 2 inquiries about it, but I want you to know that once I send you the statement, I think maybe you'll understand. I didn't want any of our citizens to misunderstand that the funding, most of the funding for the project came from a grant that came to us from the federal through the state on then down to Shreveport in 2002. And you may ask yourself, 2002, that's like 16 years ago. So when I came aboard, we were trying to find beautification efforts. We began that kickoff in 2015. And in 2016, I was told that if you want a project, there is some money that was allocated to us. At that time, it was 14 years ago. And so in 2016, we did go to the state and ask if the money was still there. So we were able to get the $769,000 that had been there for 14 years. And thus, we started the project, and it's almost completed. And so I did want our citizens to know that that project was paid for with funding that we were able to get based on something that happened 14 years ago in 2016. So that project we hope will be completed pretty soon. Our only funds that we had to utilize came from water and sewer revenue bonds. That was our part of the commitment, was to put in the irrigation. But the funding came from a grant that we were able to find and then jumpstart. And we made a few calls to get the funding because it was off the table, so to speak, but we were able to get it. So we hope that we'll be able to have that project finished with grant dollars. So I want to thank you all for your support, but I did want you to know that's where the funding came from.
Well, I, for one, just want to applaud y'all for putting that money to use. It was something that came to my attention at some point during review of capital budgets, that it had been sitting, not being spent for some time. And I know that there had to be several project redesigns. I know that those things can be difficult when you're working with granted funds, but congratulations to y'all for finding a project that worked, met the funding requirements, met the local needs, and was able to get done. And quite frankly, I think it looks great. I think it's going to also help with driver behavior, and also a little bit of environmental mitigation for the impact that roads have on our surrounding communities, and I just think it's a great project. So thank y'all for getting that done.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, sir.
That was it?
That was it.
Okay. Back to Mr. Thompson for the clerk report. You know I did forget you.
We have no report today.
Who would have guessed?
All right, public comments. We have
Public comments. Okay, we're going to let Mr. Jeffrey Jackson, if he's in the audience still, come forward if he's patiently waited this amount of time. Okay, lost interest. Sammy, second shot at the title, buddy. Come on up.
Don't worry,
I expect it to be in rhyme, though.
You'll get yours later.
Okay.
Sammy Mears, 1901 Centenary Boulevard, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. Last Friday, April 6th, at 1:52 p.m., my lights went out, and I tried to find SWEPCO in the phone book, but I didn't. I found out that somebody apparently
did have my number, however.
Well,
you
were already next on the agenda, Buster. What happened? What happened was I found out that somebody
I was so excited for 211's return.
Look, I found out that somebody got into an accident in their car by hitting one of our transformers, and the traffic lights went out as well as my lights and everybody else's over at Oak Meadows. We were very unhappy. Now, after the storms came through and they left, I went out at 9:15 p.m. and I found a policeman to talk to who was sitting between Centenary and Olive, and he told me that they had gone to get their equipment, and they were going to be back to finish the job because other lights were already on, but Oak Meadows were not. That's why we were very unhappy. At 9:35 p.m., the power was restored. I finally contacted SWEPCO the next day and told them that everything that happened, I should get some kind of a credit or a refund on my next light bill. They argued and said no, that they don't do that for anyone who didn't have any power. I feel like I was disrespected and hurt. The people who live at Oak Meadows, they felt the same way. They want to know why they can't get refunded or some kind of credit. Hopefully somebody can help us with that. We need that.
I know just the guy.
I'm looking at him.
He's retired.
I'm looking at him. I feel that I am really entitled to being credited or a refund. If that's not going to happen, I'll let it drop. But I thought that I might have a case, and if that's not going to be the situation, I believe I should be at least apologized to. Excuse me. I think I should be apologized to.
I'm sorry. We were discussing amongst ourselves. Our primary contact at SWEPCO is retiring very soon. He is not retired yet because he's who I was calling all night on Friday night.
Oh, you were? Well, I believe that me and the people who did not have our electricity should have been apologized to because we were very disgusted for the way that we did not get some kind of a refund or a credit. And the people downstairs, across the hall, and others who didn't have our power, we were just very upset about it, and we want something done, and we want to be either refunded or credited.
My apology. I'm a stockholder in AEP. I'll be glad to offer the apology if you'll accept it.
I will.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I sure could use it.
I'm not a stockholder. I'm fortunate for once.
Well, you're just fish-eyed, but that's okay.
Okay, next. Pastor Mays.
Mayor, and to the council, thank you for your service. Have something, an issue that I would like to address you all, and it should be a concern to all of us as a community here in Northwest Louisiana. It is sad that continuously, either you are for one or against the other. We want to tear that stigma down. We need law enforcement, but they have a duty to serve and protect. And if we're going to become a society to where we can't say what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad, then we're going to lose the moral fiber of who we really are as a community. Brother Sterling and several other people from Baton Rouge to throughout this country, Trayvon Martin throughout this country, has been killed at the hands of police officers, and there has still yet to be any accountability. Now, some people tell me, well, Pastor May, they'll do the job that they want nobody else to do. Well, we understand that, and we appreciate them putting their lives up. But what we don't appreciate is that you're devaluing human life. I believe in humanity, and I just think it's wrong for us to overlook, because it's happening more so in the black community, where we try to justify situations by saying, well, the blacks are killing one another. Well, to me, as a pastor for over 20 plus years, and one that's not afraid to stand on the truth, I feel the taking of any human life is wrong. And I know at some time officers are put in very difficult positions. But we got to stop making up excuses for those who shoot unarmed black men. It's time out for that. And this is not something that's an administrative problem, because this is something that's been going on long before this administration got here. And it's sad that we have came to this podium, I have, and we have asked not only this council but other councils that police cannot police. This is the only organization I know that can police themselves. Well, it's not working. So when something doesn't work, you do something different. We just left Baton Rouge to show you how crooked stuff is. Me and you talked, Brother Furry. We left Baton Rouge. We had 1,000 people there, Madam Mayor, and this is what they tried to do. We started to the local stations. Sam Jenkins was the only one. These people tried to overturn legislation, I think it was House Bill 168, that was dealing with prison reform. There was money that was allocated to do exactly what we went there for. It was 2,000 of us first. We left with 3 buses the other week or 2 ago. We found them taking a 4-hour lunch break. Where do you see this kind of crap at? You guys don't take a 4-hour break. I mean, this is the hypocrisy that goes on. And that's what I was telling somebody when the guy was saying, well, Mr. Bradford, I said, no, let me tell you something. I say, if you all would come down to these council meetings, I said, because we can only expect these guys to do so much. If you come down to these council meetings and you address the issues in your community that's on the Cooper Road and in other places, and let your council persons know that you need this and you need this and you need that done, and then some things can start to happen. But we need to take some initiative for ourselves, and this is what we're trying to get out. But it's sad. I thank you guys very much for your time. I appreciate what you do. But the only way this is not a white and black issue, because the police that are killing black people, it's the same police officers that have the same skin color I have. So it's not black and white, it's right and wrong. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Okay. Mr. Chair, one last thing. I got a very nice comment from one of my constituents who is extremely pleased with the hard work, as we all are, of our solid waste department. They were still going. She was impressed that at 6:15 p.m. they were still going last night, and just wanted to commend the public waste department, the solid waste department, about all their hard work. So, positive thing. Intergovernmental Consortium will be this Friday, April 13th at Skybox at 11:30. All 3 local governing bodies will be in attendance. Look forward to seeing everyone there. That's all I have, sir.
If there's nothing else from no one else, This meeting is adjourned.